Chapter 3691. Black Divine Spear Buzz. Layers of strange black divine power spread out from the black spear. This black divine power was full of destruction and tyranny. As the white-haired elder poured all his divine power into it, the black divine power suddenly soared, and in the blink of an eye, it blotted out the sky. As for the black spear, directly turned into a destructive black light beam and shot toward Jian Wushuang. At the moment it shot toward him, the endless black divine power crazily condensed into a demonic human face. This human face only had a rough outline, but it was still filled with absolute majesty. Especially the pair of deep and strange eyes. There was a kind of disdain that looked down on the universe and above everyone else. The eyes that looked down on the common people were already staring at Jian Wushuang. The condensation of the face made Jian Wushuang's face change. Especially being stared at by the face, Jian Wushuang felt his body tremble, and an unprecedented sense of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. This sense of fear came from his life level. This sense of fear was as if he had met his nemesis. This feeling. Jian Wushuang's face was gloomy. Whose face is this? Is it the face of the Devil Cloud Star Master or someone else? Jian Wushuang did not know the origin of this human face, but he knew that it was formed by the power from the spear. Without a doubt, the spear did have a great restraint on his life level. .bg container 632764437b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important. Jian Wushuang did not have time to think, because the dark light beam formed by the black spear had already appeared in front of him. Jian Wushuang did not care about the white-haired elder, but he did not dare to underestimate the black spear that had once killed his master. In an instant, he used his life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill. His divine power immediately rose to a level that was barely comparable to an advanced ruler. Starfire burning the sun. Jian Wushuang shouted, and a demonic sword light flashed across the netherworld divine sword in his hand. Crack! Crack! The sound of the void cracking suddenly rang out. A terrifying sword light that seemed to be able to burn everything in the world, with a shocking power, rushed toward the black light beam formed by the spear. In the blink of an eye, the two collided head-on. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The collision of the two terrifying attacks did not produce a terrifying explosion. Instead, there was only the sound of divine power being pressed against each other. The fear in Jian Wushuang's heart grew stronger and stronger. At the same time, there was a special power slowly eroding toward him from the black light beam. Jian Wushuang's face was solemn, and the power in his hands increased a little. The two terrifying powers attacked crazily, but suddenly, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. The power contained in the spear has been weakened by about 70 by my swordsmanship. The remaining power should be about 30, Jian Wushuang muttered, but he had already made a bold decision. It was an extremely crazy decision. Jian Wushuang focused his eyes. The sword light, which was able to fight against the dark light beam, collapsed without any warning. The reason why it collapsed was not because the power of the sword light had been completely exhausted. It was because Jian Wushuang deliberately controlled it and withdrew its power. Without the obstruction of the sword light, the dark light beam naturally charged toward Jian Wushuang. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had no intention of dodging at all. He only exerted the power of the Blood Demon Cave armor with all his strength. It was obvious that he wanted to forcibly resist the impact of the long spear. I want to see for myself how special this long spear is and how much it can restrain special life forms like me. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a trace of madness. He knew very well that this spear was very important to both him and the Devil Cloud Star Master. Even the Devil Cloud Star Master would only be able to kill him with this spear. Because of this, he wanted to truly experience the power of this spear. Therefore, he deliberately dissipated his sword light and allowed the remaining 30 of its power to stab toward his divine body. Kai! The dark spear, which was emitting a strange aura, hit Jian Wushuang's chest and was immediately blocked by the Blood Demon Cave armor. After all, it was a supreme treasure armor. The remaining 30 power of the dark spear could not penetrate the Blood Demon Cave armor directly, but there was a special power in the dark spear. It completely ignored the Blood Demon Cave armor and entered Jian Wushuang's body at once. Rumble. Jian Wushuang felt his body roaring crazily. A large amount of his divine power began to be destroyed under the impact of the special power. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 of his divine power had been destroyed, and the special power continued to attack. What a terrifying, special power! Jian Wushuang was shocked. He immediately mobilized all his divine power to counter the special power. After 3 breaths, Jian Wushuang's body calmed down again. However, at this moment, he had less than 80 of his divine power. In other words, the special power that had just poured into his body from the black spear had destroyed more than 20 of his divine power in just a few breaths. After all, as a special life form, his divine power was as vast as the sea after he became the principal's masters. Now, even if he had received a full power blow from the Sky Rock ruler who had reached the level of a top ruler, he had only lost less than 1% of his divine power. But now, the black spear into the special force directly annihilated more than 20 of his power. What did this mean? This is the ruler of the Devil Cloud Star Master. He can't use his peak strength in the divine beginning realm. If he could use his peak strength, this attack would definitely hurt me more. But if the stronger and more terrifying Devil Cloud Star Master were to control this spear personally, the result would be... Jian Wushuang thought. He could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. He finally understood why his master had died at the hands of the Devil Cloud Star Master, even though he was so powerful and his methods were so brilliant. This was not only because the Devil Cloud Star Master was stronger, but most importantly, it was because of this special long spear. The special power contained within this long spear was too terrifying. The threat it posed to the special life forms was too great. And he definitely could not let such a spear fall into the hands of the Devil Cloud Star Master. Chapter 3692. Kill them all. The situation on the battlefield suddenly changed. After Jian Wushuang killed the tall man and the evil-looking young man, the 2 masters, almost everyone thought that Jian Wushuang should be able to kill the white-haired elder easily. However, they did not expect the white-haired elder to use his trump card and hit Jian Wushuang head-on. When the strange black spear stabbed Jian Wushuang and weakened his aura, everyone was shocked. However, they were only shocked. Although Jian Wushuang had lost a lot of divine power, he was still full of battle strength, so he quickly attacked again. On the other hand, the white-haired elder was forcibly activating the power of the black spear. Although it had caused some damage to Jian Wushuang, he himself had paid a huge price. He had lost more than 70 of his divine power and even suffered a severe backlash in his soul. Now, he was seriously injured and had little battle strength left. Seeing Jian Wushuang attacking again, the elder was in disbelief. He did not expect that he could not cause much damage to Jian Wushuang despite activating the black spear. Immediately after, he revealed a look of despair. He knew that in his current state, he would definitely die if he faced Jian Wushuang again. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang came to his side and killed him with a casual sword attack. Since then, the 3 masters who had specially rushed over from Devil Cloud Star Master had all died. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction. Column align items. Center justify content. Center Z index. 214-748-3647. Important: the 3 of them had all died under Jian Wushuang's sword. After killing the 3 masters, Jian Wushuang's cold eyes immediately swept over the 3 masters of the Saint Realm. The 3 masters of the Saint Realm had long turned pale. They looked up at Jian Wushuang with despair in their hearts. It's your turn. Jian Wushuang held the Netherworld Divine Sword and walked toward the 3 masters of the Saint Realm step by step. The 3 masters of the Saint Realm were so depressed that they no longer had any intention of resisting. Even if they wanted to resist, it would be useless. After all, they were only principles masters. Even with the power of the will of heaven, they could not compete with rulers. In the divine beginning realm, in terms of battle strength, the 3 of them could not compare to the 3 rulers. Jian Wushuang could easily kill the 3 rulers, so it would be even easier to kill them. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you won this time. If I had known earlier, I would have killed you at all costs. I didn't expect that the 3 of us would really die at your hands. How ridiculous, how ridiculous. Heavenly Sword Marquis, don't be too happy. Master will definitely take revenge in his body. He will. The three masters of the Saint Realm said their last words before they were killed by Jian Wushuang. This scene completely stunned the countless cultivators from the three Saint Realms. They stared at the scene with their eyes wide open in disbelief. The Saint Master and the others are dead? How is this possible? Impossible, impossible. The Saint Master's power is monstrous, and he represents the will of the heavenly Tao. They are absolutely invincible in the divine beginning realm. No one can kill them. It's impossible. It's fake. This must be an illusion. Yes, it must be an illusion. Damn it. Why haven't I woken up from this illusion yet? Hysterical roars sounded from every corner of the three great Saint Realms. Even though they had seen the three great Saint Realm Masters being killed with their own eyes, those people in the three great Saint Realms who had blindly worshipped the three great Saint Realm Masters were still unwilling to believe that all of this was real. They had thought that they had just fallen into an illusion and had only seen the scene in the illusion. Even the principals masters of the three Saint Realms, they were still in disbelief. They did not care about the death of the three rulers. After all, the three rulers had suddenly appeared and did not leave a deep impression on them. They did not feel invincible, but the three Saint Realm Masters were different. Of course, no matter how unbelievable they were, it was a fact that the three Saint Realm Masters were dead. After killing the three masters of the Saint Realm, Jian Wushuang turned his eyes to the void beside him. There was no one there. There was only a black spear floating quietly. The black divine spear had been floating quietly in the void ever since the white-haired elder had finished using it. Even though the white-haired elder had died, no one could control the black spear. It still emitted an extremely strange aura. Jian Wushuang had not paid attention to the spear immediately after killing the elder. Until now, he had killed the three masters of the Saint Realm, and the three most powerful experts of the Saint Realm had all died. Jian Wushuang looked at the spear. This spear must be destroyed. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He raised the Netherworld Divine Sword in his hand, and an extremely powerful divine power aura burst out. Whoosh! A majestic sword shadow slashed directly at the floating black spear in an attempt to split it in half. However, when the sword light landed on the black spear, the spear was sent flying far away. However, there were no cracks on the surface of the spear, let alone any marks left by the sword shadow. This scene made Jian Wushuang's eyes narrow, but he was not surprised. The spear was extremely powerful, unique, and priceless. It was definitely a supreme treasure among supreme treasures. How could such a supreme treasure be destroyed so easily? It was like a supreme universe supreme treasure. Even if it was placed in front of Jian Wushuang, he could not destroy it no matter how hard he tried. The level of the spear was probably higher than that of the supreme universe supreme treasure. If I can't destroy it and want to suppress it, I don't have a suppression-type supreme treasure on the same level as it. It seems that I have to find a way to keep it with me. Jian Wushuang thought for a moment and made a decision. If he had no other choice, he would not want to keep the spear with him. Because the spear was too threatening to him, it had a constant impact on his life level. If he kept the spear with him, the impact would not be broken, which would make him very uncomfortable. Unfortunately, he had no choice but to keep the spear by his side. However, when Jian Wushuang reached out his hand and wanted to put the spear into his interspatial ring, boom! A supernatural power suddenly descended. Humph! Is my treasure something you can touch? A cold voice suddenly echoed in the world. Chapter 3693. Giant Green Hand. This cold shout contained an unquestionable will that exploded in the world. At the moment the voice sounded, the world suddenly shook. From the void at the highest point, a giant dark green hand suddenly extended out and grabbed toward the black divine spear. The attack of this huge green hand caused the pupils of everyone present to shrink. No matter who it was, they could feel that supreme power from this huge green hand. That power did not originate from the cultivators, but from the heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao's will. The will of the heavenly Tao has descended? That's not right. The will of the heavenly Tao is only a will. The power of the heavenly Tao that can be mobilized is extremely limited. At most, it can threaten some masters of laws. However, why does this huge hand formed by the will of the heavenly Tao feel so powerful? Looking at the giant green hand that suddenly appeared, many people present were terrified. including some principals masters who were extremely powerful. The power contained in the giant green hand was indeed too powerful. At least, it was much stronger than the principals masters. Unsurprisingly, the power contained in the giant hand had reached the ruler realm. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important however, when could the will of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm mobilize the power of the will of the ruler realm? Unless, boom, the earth began to shake violently. Jian Wushuang could vaguely feel that the moment the giant green hand extended out, the void of the divine beginning realm also had some influence. It seems that his desperate. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew that under normal circumstances, in order to maintain the normal operation and evolution of the divine beginning realm, the divine will could not use too much power. At most, it would be like before, he chose 3 principals masters who were not weak as his spokespersons. Then, because of the blessing of the heavenly will, these 3 people could burst out with power far stronger than that of the principals masters. These were the 3 Saint Realm masters. But this was only under normal circumstances. But now, it was obviously not under normal circumstances. The 3 Saint Realm masters were dead, and the black spear was about to fall into Jian Wushuang's hands. How could Devil Cloud Star Master not be anxious? Thus, Devil Cloud Star Master recklessly mobilized the power of the heavenly will of the divine beginning realm. That was why the giant green hand had descended. Although the giant green hand had descended, it had a huge impact on the divine beginning realm at that moment. The price for it was also very high for Devil Cloud Star Master. Do you think you can get the spear back just like that? Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. Just as the giant green hand was about to grab the black spear, he moved and took a step forward. When he took a step forward, a shocking power burst out from his body. He used his life divine power and heaven cleaving skill at the same time. At the same time, because he had refined the eternal chaotic world, he was favored by the universal laws, which gave him a lot of benefits. Among them, there was an extremely powerful willpower. Jian Wushuang had not used this willpower since he got it. But now, buzz. The power of the will was directly integrated into Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship. The most powerful skill, Starfire Burning Sun. Jian Wushuang attacked with all his strength. A sword light containing explosive power suddenly swept out. The sword light was so huge that it covered half of the world. It immediately went to meet the giant green hand. The sound of a blade passing through a person's divine body rang out. The giant green hand was cut in half by the sword light. The giant hand was cut in half, and a large amount of majestic power of the heavenly Tao spread out in all directions. The power of the universe principles? How is this possible? An unbelievable voice echoed in the deepest part of the heaven and earth. Devil Cloud Star Master knew very well that the power of the will of heavenly Tao that he mobilized at all costs was extremely powerful. Even though Jian Wushuang was strong enough now, he was confident that he could still resist or even suppress him. But in the end, his giant hand formed by the power of heavenly Tao was cut open. The power contained in that sword and the special power contained in it completely shocked Devil Cloud Star Master. He knew that the power had already surpassed that of most advanced rulers. The extremely special but supreme power contained in the sword was even the power of the universe principles. Even if Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship only contained a trace of the universe principles, it could still make his swordsmanship extremely terrifying. It seems that the arrival of the universe principles really gave you a lot of good things. The mighty voice sounded again. Jian Wushuang sneered. But at this moment, Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly shrank because he had noticed that at the same time when he used his swordsmanship to cut the giant green hand into 2, a strange figure had appeared beside the black spear. He put the black spear into his interspatial ring. After doing all this, the figure did not leave immediately. Instead, she stood there and looked at him calmly. This person. Jian Wushuang looked at the person. She was an extremely beautiful woman. Her temperament was cold and without any emotion. She looked at him with a strange smile in her eyes. It's you, Ruler Star Luo. Jian Wushuang's voice turned cold. He had already recognized her. In his previous life, He had interacted with ruler Star Luo in the eternal chaotic world, so he knew her appearance very well. The person in front of him was obviously ruler Star Luo. She looked exactly the same and her aura was exactly the same. The only difference was that ruler Star Luo had only sent a consciousness clone to the eternal chaotic world, but now it was her original body. She also possessed the strength of a real ruler. Jian Wushuang, I really didn't expect that you could reach such a level in such a short time. Not only the 3 masters of the Saint Realm in the Divine Beginning Realm, but even the 3 masters from the Devil Cloud Star died at your hands? Ruler Star Luo stared at Jian Wushuang. Since you know that the 3 masters of the Saint Realm and the 3 rulers from the Devil Cloud Star have died at my hands, how dare you show up in front of me? You even dare to steal my things. You have guts. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Ha ha, Jian Wushuang, you underestimate me. Although we are both rulers, I'm not as useless as that trash. In the Divine Beginning Realm, I can't do anything to you, but if I want to leave, you can't stop me. With that, ruler Star Luo disappeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Chapter 3694. 2 days and 3 nights before she disappeared, Jian Wushuang's soul power had already locked onto her. However, as soon as she disappeared, Jian Wushuang found that his soul power had lost its target. No matter how much his soul power swept around, he could not find any trace of her. Temporal, can you sense her existence? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. At present, the world was still confined by Temporal Temple Master, so logically, everything in this spacetime should be within his sensing range. However, after hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Temporal Temple Master frowned. No, I can't sense her existence. It's very likely that she has cultivated some special secret skill or has some special treasure with her. In short, I can't sense her. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's face turned extremely ugly. Jian Wushuang, I told you, I'm leaving. You can't keep me here. Goodbye. I hope you're still alive when we meet again. Ruler Star Luo's voice rang out again and slowly faded away. However, the voice did come from all directions at the same time. Even though it was slowly fading away, Jian Wushuang still could not identify the position of ruler Star Luo through the voice. Damn it! Jian Wushuang could not help cursing in his heart. He was extremely angry. He was angry not only because ruler Star Luo had snatched the long spear and left him with a big threat in the future. Most importantly, ruler Star Luo was Lang Rushua's master. Only she knew where Lang Rushua was. He had thought that if ruler Star Luo appeared, he could capture her or suppress her and force her to tell him where Lang Rushua was. But now, he could only watch her leave. How could he not be angry? The BG container 632764337B6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 2147483647. Important after ruler Star Luo left. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you are not bad. I will remember you. Soon, my true body will come here personally. At that time, I will let you die like your master, Xianxia, in pain and despair. Ha 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 ha. A deranged laughter echoed in the air, but it gradually disappeared. Jian Wushuang's face was cold. He looked down at the ground and slowly raised his right hand. Kill all 3 Saint Realms. With Jian Wushuang's order. In the 4 directions around the 3 Saint Realms, except for the 4 divine clans and the 4 Heaven Sect coalition army led by Xianxia, the Saint Army and many Principles Masters from the other 3 directions all moved out. Numerous experts were rushing toward the 3 Saint Realms from different directions. The shouts and cries of killing soared to the sky. In just a moment, the 3 Saint Realms were drowned in a frenzy of fighting. The situation in this fight was completely one-sided. The 3 Saint Realms were very strong and had a deep foundation. However, no matter how strong they were, there was still a huge gap between them and more than 90 of the high-level experts in the Divine Beginning Realm. Not to mention, the 3 Saint Realms' biggest reliance was also the god in the hearts of countless cultivators in the 3 Saint Realms. The 3 Saint Realm Masters had already died. Moreover, they were easily killed by Jian Wushuang in front of countless experts in the 3 Saint Realms. The death of the 3 Saint Realm Masters was too much of a shock to the cultivators in the 3 Saint Realms. It also made them lose their backbone in an instant. They completely lost their fighting spirit and faced the oncoming armies. It was almost impossible to stop the effective resistance and counterattack. In the end, they were at the mercy of others. The massacre. This war was a one-sided massacre. Of course, Jian Wushuang would not act personally in this massacre. After killing the 3 masters of the Saint Realm and giving the order to destroy the 3 Saint Realms, he returned to the void where the 7-star mysterious sect and the eternal chaotic world were located with the heaven-cleaving Alliance Master and Temporal Temple Master. As for the fierce battle that followed, he just watched it coldly. Not only him, the experts from the 7-star mysterious sect and the people from the eternal chaotic world were also watching. The experts from the 7-star mysterious sect were all excited when they saw the scene in front of them. As for the people from the eternal chaotic world, their faces were all pale. To the cultivators from the eternal chaotic world, the scene before their eyes was simply too shocking. Countless experts were madly fighting. Any one of these experts was unbelievably strong in their eyes. However, the experts participating in this exhibition had reached the level of 1,000,000. Such a terrifying and inconceivable battle, they had never thought about it before. But now, they had seen it with their own eyes. It had happened right in front of them. Moreover, they had just arrived at the divine beginning realm, yet they had already seen this great battle. The shock in their hearts couldn't be described with words. Moreover, through this battle, they clearly understood what kind of world the divine beginning realm was. Not only were there countless experts here, but there were also endless massacres. In this place, the eternal chaotic world was even crazier and crueler. Just like the battle before them, it was extremely cruel. It's too cruel. Although these 3 great saint realms are detestable and should be destroyed, many of the cultivators in these 3 great saint realms are actually innocent. In particular, many of them are children who haven't experienced many storms. But now, they are being killed together. Almost no one can survive. Ji Wumeng frowned when he saw the scene in the picture. He was obviously unhappy. Jian Nantian, who was next to him, was a little calmer. Jian Wushuang had yet to speak when he heard Ji Wumeng's words, but Xianxia, who was from the 7-star mysterious sex camp, said directly, "Is this cruel? Wasn't it the same when our 7-star mysterious sect was destroyed? If you didn't create that layer of array, do you think that one of my 7-star mysterious sect would have been left alive? Not to mention my 7-star mysterious sect, even the entire 7-star divine realm probably wouldn't have a single living person. As for the eternal chaotic world formed in the future, that's simply a joke. It's impossible for it to exist anymore. This is the divine beginning realm, not the eternal chaotic world that you've stayed in before. Compared to the world you've stayed in, this place abides by the laws of the jungle. The strong prey on the weak, and strength reigns supreme. Back then, my 7-star mysterious sex strength wasn't enough, and we were almost doomed. But today, the same result has happened. It's just that the target is these 3 great saint realms." Xianxia's expression was extremely cold. The experts of the 7-star mysterious sect also had the same expression. They did not have the slightest bit of pity toward the 3 saint realm cultivators who had been crazily massacred. Some of them even had a trace of pleasure. This pleasure stemmed from their revenge. Chapter 3695. The 3 saint realms were completely destroyed? Xianxia's words shocked everyone from the eternal chaotic world. Ji Wumeng's frown deepened. "Mother, this is indeed the case in the divine beginning realm. There is no mercy here, especially for the enemy," Jian Wushuang said. "If we let the cultivators of the 3 saint realms leave today, they will not hesitate to show their claws at us in the coming year. They will stab us in the back when they have the chance. Mother, you have just arrived in the divine beginning realm, so you don't know much about it. But you will get used to it after a long time." Ji Wumeng nodded and did not say anything else. 2 days and 3 nights. The great battle within the 3 great saint realms lasted for 2 days and 3 nights. This was very normal. After all, the 3 great saint realms were too big, and there were too many cultivators. Even if the allied armies of the various forces all attacked, it would still take some time to kill all the cultivators of the 3 great saint realms. 2 days and 3 nights were still under the situation where the experts from the highest echelons of the various factions personally took action. After the great battle ended, the three great saint realms, which had stood tall in the divine beginning realm for countless years and were supported by the will of the heavenly Tao, were finally completely wiped out. They were completely wiped out. There were practically no fish that escaped the net. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important as for the countless resources and treasures left behind by the three great saint realms, a small number of them had been snatched away during the battle. However, the majority of them were still gathered together and distributed. 1. In the vast void, countless figures stood erect. The armies of experts from various forces remained in this void, and no one left. In the center of this void, thrones condensed from divine power stood erect. On these thrones, there were many figures emitting tyrannical auras. These figures, they were the rulers of the forces participating in the war, or the highest level. In front of these people, there were 5 towering thrones floating quietly. These 5 thrones were obviously higher than the other thrones, but no one dared to object. Because the people on these 5 thrones were the 5 strongest and most powerful people in the divine beginning realm. They were Jian Wushuang, Daoist Shen God, Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor. Except for Jian Wushuang, the other 4 were all rulers. Although Jian Wushuang was not a ruler, his battle strength was above that of a ruler. Moreover, he was the absolute main force in this battle. He had single-handedly killed the 3 Saint Realm Masters and 3 rulers from the Devil Cloud Star. Therefore, he sat in the middle of the 5. Xianxia was also a ruler, but he was from the 7-star mysterious sect. Now that the Shen God was there, he did not need to show up. Shen God, Heaven Ancestor, how is the Star Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. While the forces of the Divine Beginning Realm attacked the 3 Saint Realms, on the universe battlefield, Daoist Shen God and Heaven Ancestor led the Star Palace to attack the Holy Island. Now that the 3 Saint Realms had been destroyed, the Holy Island should have a result. It's over. The Holy Island has been destroyed. More than 80 of the hundreds of Principal's Masters have been killed. Although some escaped, it's not a big deal, Daoist Shen God said with a smile. His and the Heaven Ancestors' original bodies were still on the Holy Island. As for the ones who had arrived, they were just consciousness incarnations. That's good. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. This time, the Divine Beginning Realm and the universe battlefield had attacked at the same time, and the final result could be considered satisfactory. The only regret was that he had not destroyed or obtained the Black Spear. After this battle, the 3 Saint Realms can be said to be completely destroyed. Next, it's time to divide the spoils of war, Jian Wushuang said grandly. After hearing his words, the rulers and the highest-level officials from all sides became excited. They had left without destroying the 3 Saint Realms to divide the spoils of war. After all, the 3 Saint Realms had been the overlords of the Divine Beginning Realm. Not only did the 3 Saint Realms have countless resources and treasures, but they also had countless territories, secret realms, and all kinds of things, especially the territories where the 3 Saint Realms were located. This was the most superior territory for the cultivation of illusions in the 3rd heaven. Who would not be envious? Heavenly Sword Marquis. A figure stood up from below. This person was the sect master of the Bloodfire Heaven sect, one of the 8 Directions Celestial sect who participated in the battle. As the sect master of a heaven sect and a top expert in the Divine Beginning Realm, he had once regarded Jian Wushuang as a little guy. But now that he had personally experienced this battle, the strength that Jian Wushuang displayed, all the experts were impressed by him, including the sect master of the Bloodfire sect. Therefore, the sect master of the Bloodfire sect was now extremely respectful to Jian Wushuang, and he naturally addressed him as Sir Lord Heavenly Sword Marquis. There are too many sects participating in the extermination of the 3 Saint Realms. Although it seems that the results of this battle are great, I'm afraid it won't be easy to distribute them. So, how do you plan to distribute the results of this battle? The sect master of the Bloodfire sect looked at Jian Wushuang carefully. It's simple. We will distribute the results according to the strength of each force. The stronger the force, the more contribution they make, and the more results they will get. First of all, I was the first to kill the 3 rulers and 3 masters of the Saint Realm, which basically made the 3 Saint Realms lose the ability to resist. Therefore, I want 30 of the results. Jian Wushuang was very direct and did not beat around the bush. He alone wanted 30 of the battle results. When he said this, most of the people on the field secretly nodded and did not have any objections. This was very normal, because the most crucial part of the battle was the 3 masters of the Saint Realm and the 3 rulers from the Devil Cloud Star. If the 3 masters of the Saint Realm were still alive, the battle would not have been possible. It was because Jian Wushuang killed them that the 3 Saint Realms were destroyed. Therefore, Jian Wushuang contributed the most to this battle. It was reasonable for him to ask for 30 of the battle results. Even if he asked for 50, not many people would object, considering Jian Wushuang's monstrous strength. Of course, although most people agreed, a few people were secretly dissatisfied and felt that Jian Wushuang was too greedy. After all, Jian Wushuang was only one person, and there were no forces or sects under his command. If he wanted 30 of the results, what was the use of it? Chapter 3696. Dividing the spoils of war. It was normal for these people to think so. After all, the spoils of war were mainly the resources and treasures left behind by the 3 Saint Realms. The 3 Saint Realms had dominated the Divine Beginning Realm for so long, so they had accumulated too many resources and treasures. 30% of the resources was enough for a large force and sect to squander for a long time. Jian Wushuang was alone, so why did he need so many resources? They did not know that Jian Wushuang himself did not need these resources, but the people around him did. First of all, it was the 7-star mysterious sect. After the battle, the 7-star mysterious sect had lost all its resources. Although they now had the opportunity to rise again, they naturally needed a lot of resources in addition to a certain number of experts. Therefore, Jian Wushuang wanted 30 of the resources. 10 of the resources would definitely be reserved for the 7-star mysterious sect. With this 10 of resources, it would be easy for the remaining experts of the 7-star mysterious sect to rise again. As for the other 20 of the resources, Jian Wushuang prepared them for the many cultivators in the eternal chaotic world. The eternal chaotic world was still far from the divine beginning realm. Those cultivators who came to the divine beginning realm from the eternal chaotic world would definitely need a place to stay. Therefore, Jian Wushuang planned to find a territory in the divine beginning realm and create a force. These resources would be used to operate that force. Although some people were dissatisfied with Jian Wushuang's demand for 30 of the battle results, no one dared to say anything. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang spoke again. Among the remaining 70 of the battle results, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, the Temporal Temple, the Heaven Ancestor Daoist sect, and the 4 great divine clans contributed the most, each taking 10. As for the remaining 30, it will be evenly distributed among the 8 Directions Celestial sect, the Purple Blood sect, the Supreme Emotion Forgetting Valley, and more than a dozen other major forces. .bg container 632764337b6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important. I wonder who is here to object to this distribution? Jian Wushuang did not say who had different opinions, but directly said who opposed it. The meaning of this was very clear. It meant that he had already decided on this distribution and would not change it. For the various forces present, Jian Wushuang's distribution was considered fair. Even if there were a few who were dissatisfied, they would not dare to voice their objections at this moment. After all, to object in front of so many people was to refute Jian Wushuang's face. Who would dare to do so? Jian Wushuang looked down coldly for a long time. Seeing that no one objected, he said, since no one objects, then the resources and treasures of the 3 Saint Realms will be distributed in this way. In addition to these resources and treasures, there is one more thing, which is about the territories and territories controlled by the 3 Saint Realms. Those who held power or were at the highest level immediately perked up. To them, the greatest result of this battle was not the resources and treasures left behind by the 3 great Saint Realms, but the territories and territories. The 3 great Saint Realms had dominated the Divine Beginning Realm for so long, and the territories they controlled had always been the best in the Divine Beginning Realm. Especially the headquarters of the 3 great Saint Realms, which was the void they were currently in. This place was the core of the 3rd heaven. Even though they had just encountered a fierce battle, the battle had only destroyed the various construction arrays in this territory. it would not have much of an impact on the cultivation environment of this territory. This was still the territory with the best cultivation environment in the divine beginning realm. Such a territory would naturally be of great use to cultivators. If any force or sect could occupy this territory and make it their home, then their disciples' cultivation speed would definitely be much faster than in other places. The chances of producing experts would naturally be higher. That was why they cared so much about these territories. Under everyone's anticipation, Jian Wushuang spoke. I don't care about the territories that the three saint realms previously controlled. However, the territories where the three saint realms are located will be controlled by the seven-star mysterious sect. I wonder if there are any different opinions on this. Jian Wushuang let everyone express their opinions. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has no objections. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master was the first to speak. Temporal Temple Master, no objections, Temporal Temple Master also said. The seven-star mysterious sect was destroyed by the three saint realms. Now that the seven-star mysterious sect is going to rise again, it's reasonable for it to occupy the nest of the three saint realms. The Heaven Ancestor Daoist sect also has no objections, the Heaven Ancestor said. The three Freedom Alliances all made their positions clear. When the sects below saw this, they looked at each other and did not dare to say anything more. Judging from Jian Wushuang's attitude and the attitude of the three Freedom Alliances, it was obvious that they had decided to give the territory where the three saint realms were located to the seven-star mysterious sect so that the seven-star mysterious sect could rise again. In that case, there was no chance for them to force it. Of course, even if the best territory was given to the seven-star mysterious sect, the remaining territories that the three saint realms had previously controlled were still very attractive to them. You can divide the remaining things among yourselves. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, but he had already turned around and left. The three Freedom Alliances are not interested in territories and territories. You can take care of those things yourself. The leader of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, who was the representative of the three Freedom Alliances, said this and then left. As for the four divine races, since they already had a huge monster territory with good cultivation conditions, they were not interested in other places, so they did not get involved in the fight for territories and territories. On the contrary, the 8 Directions Celestial Sect and the dozen or so powerful forces began to fight over these territories. Of course, no matter how they fought, it had nothing to do with Jian Wushuang. Above the void, Jian Wushuang, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, the Temporal Temple Master, Daoist Shen God, and the Heaven Ancestors Consciousness clones stood there, looking down at the ground. The three saint realms have been destroyed after all. Jian Wushuang sighed. He clearly remembered that he had been pushed to the limit by the three saint realms several times. On several occasions, he had almost died at the hands of the three saint realms. At the same time, since his last life, the three saint realms had been like a mountain to him. This mountain had been blocking him and even wanted to crush him, but he had been lucky enough to survive until now. Finally, the mountain was completely shattered. Once upon a time, the three saint realms were like a giant to me. I was scared just by looking at them, but now, they are just ruins. Jian Wushuang chuckled, but a complicated look flashed in his eyes. Chapter 3697. The Mysterious Sorcerer God Sect? Seeing the three saint realms completely destroyed by him, Jian Wushuang felt a strange emotion in his heart, except for the joy of revenge. After all, they were the three saint realms. They had a deep heritage and had been high and mighty in the divine beginning realm for countless years. But now, they were completely destroyed in just 2 days and vanished into thin air in the divine beginning realm. Thinking back to the seven-star mysterious sect, in terms of strength, it was much stronger than the three great saint realms. It even had a total of 3 ruler-level experts, but it had also perished in a great battle. Fortunately, it had Xianxia's methods, otherwise, the seven-star mysterious sect would have been completely submerged in history. It would not have had the chance to rise up again until now. Even the powerful 3 great saint realms and the seven-star mysterious sect were the same. Moreover, the Lingyun planet that he had joined in the Devil Smoke Valley was a great force in the depths of the universe. The Lingyun Planet Master was a supreme being with extraordinary strength. He was an ruler in the depths of the universe. But in the end, the Lingyun planet was also destroyed. Countless experts died and fled. The whereabouts of the Lingyun Planet Master was also unknown. With the change of times, no force or sect could guarantee their prosperity in this world. What they could do was to improve their strength as much as possible. Only with absolute strength could they truly protect themselves. Jian Wushuang was still far from that step. Although he was now invincible in the divine beginning realm, he was still very weak in the entire universe. .bg container 632764337b6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important. Although the three saint realms have been destroyed, the divine beginning realm is not completely peaceful. There is still a force that needs to be destroyed, Jian Wushuang suddenly said. My young friend, you must be talking about the Sorcerer God sect, right? Temporal Temple Master looked at him. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. The Sorcerer Gods sect. Compared to the powerful and overbearing three saint realms, the Sorcerer God sect had been hiding in the dark. The Sorcerer God sect had been trying to capture special life forms and some high-level bloodline experts. No one knew what the Sorcerer God sect was planning to do, and no one knew where their lair was. However, the Sorcerer God sect had been active in the primordial god for many years, and there was more or less a shadow of the Sorcerer God sect behind many things. Jian Wushuang also knew that the three saint realms and the Sorcerer God sect used to be on the same side. When the three saint realms set an inescapable net to kill him on the Sahar Island, the Sorcerer God sect also made a move. They helped the three saint realms. A long time ago, there was a so-called prophet in the Sorcerer God sect. He used his special means to find his position and sent the principal's master to kill him, but in the end, he failed. Jian Wushuang would never forget a mysterious force like the Sorcerer God sect. This time, he destroyed the three saint realms. He thought that the Sorcerer God sect would join in and help the three saint realms fight against his camp. But after this battle, he did not see any experts from the Sorcerer God sect. The Sorcerer God sect did not participate in the battle at all. Until the three saint realms were completely destroyed, no one from the Sorcerer God sect showed up. This made Jian Wushuang very confused. This Sorcerer God sect is very unique, Temporal Temple Master said. According to my information, the leader of the Sorcerer God sect is not a cultivator from the divine beginning realm. He is a ruler from the outside world. Under normal circumstances, rulers from the outside world will be repelled by the heavenly Tao will of the astral world when they come to an ordinary astral world. Their power will be greatly suppressed, and they are much stronger than us rulers who were born in this astral world. However, the suppression that the Sorcerer God received in the divine beginning realm doesn't seem to be that great. Many years ago, I exchanged blows with him. The power he was able to unleash wasn't much weaker than mine. Could it be that this god also came from Devil Cloud Star? Is he an expert under the command of the Devil Cloud Star Master? The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master said. No. If he is an expert from Devil Cloud Star, then we won't be surprised by the power he is able to display, Daoist Shen God said. More importantly, the people of our star palace have sent word that the Devil Cloud Star doesn't have a ruler like the Sorcerer God. Besides, if the Sorcerer God really is from the Devil Cloud Star, then why didn't he make a move when we annihilated the three great saint realms? You must know that in the previous battle, the three rulers from the Devil Cloud Star all made a move, and were all killed by our young friend, the Heavenly Sword Marquis. Even in the end, when that Hegemon Xingluo made an appearance, the Sorcerer God still didn't make an appearance. Thus, we can be certain that the Sorcerer God isn't an expert from the Devil Cloud Star. Perhaps, for some special reason, he reached an agreement with the Devil Cloud Star Master. That's why he could stay in the divine beginning realm, and his power wasn't suppressed too much. Besides, the Devil Cloud Star Master also tacitly allowed him to do some things in the dark, such as capturing special life forms. If that's the case, the Sorcerer God sect is quite mysterious, said the Heaven Ancestor. Regardless of the purpose of the Sorcerer God sect in the divine beginning realm, and regardless of whether the martial god has made some kind of agreement with Star Master Mo Yun, the Sorcerer God sect should not exist because it has repeatedly helped the three saint realms to deal with me, as well as the shameful things that the Sorcerer God sect has done in the divine beginning realm over the years. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, Temporal Master, and Heaven Ancestor, please try your best to use the intelligence of your alliance to find the base of the Sorcerer God sect. Although the three saint realms have been destroyed, If we let the Sorcerer God sect continue to exist and do all kinds of shameful things, we will still have a hard time sleeping and eating. We must find the Sorcerer God's sect and destroy it." Hearing Jian Wushuang's words, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master and the others also nodded. They were also aware of the potential threat of the Sorcerer God sect. If the Sorcerer God sect continued to exist in the Divine Beginning Realm, it would be like a time bomb to the Divine Beginning Realm. Who knows when it would suddenly explode? Therefore, it was better to find it quickly and destroy it. Don't worry, we will immediately send people to investigate. No matter how well the Sorcerer God sect is hidden, as long as it's in the Divine Beginning Realm, it can't escape the eyes of the three Freedom Alliances, Temporal Temple Master said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang still believed in the abilities of the three Freedom Alliances. Chapter 3698. Number 1 in the Divine Beginning Realm? The three great saint realms had been destroyed. This news was like a huge storm. In just a few days, it had swept through the entire third heaven, and even the entire Divine Beginning Realm. The entire Divine Beginning Realm, countless forces, countless sects, and countless cultivators were all shocked by this news. It could not be helped. To many people, this news was simply too shocking. The three great saint realms had been aloof in the Divine Beginning Realm for too long. They were like three giants, looking down on everything. The three lofty saint realm masters were invincible existences in the hearts of almost everyone. It was even rumored that the three saint realm masters were the representatives of the heavenly Tao of the Divine Beginning Realm. They represented the heavenly Tao of the Divine Beginning Realm. However, just like that, the three great saint realms, which had three invincible masters of the saint realm, were completely destroyed. It was as if the heavenly Tao of the Divine Beginning Realm had been completely reversed. It was simply too unbelievable. Therefore, when many people first received this news, they scoffed at it and did not believe it at all. It was not until later, when this news spread wantonly, and even the mirror image of the battle spread out, that this news was completely confirmed. The three saint realms had indeed been destroyed. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, and the reason for this result was largely because of the existence of one person. That person was Heavenly Sword Marquis. 100,000 years ago, he had killed a Principal's Master as a Saint Realm expert. At that time, he had fought against a Saint Realm Master and was known as the #1 genius in the history of the Divine Beginning Realm. At that time, Jian Wushuang revealed his talent. It was truly terrifying. Countless people in the Divine Beginning Realm were shocked by his talent. However, no matter how shocked they were, talent did not represent his true strength. For example, there had been many amazing geniuses in the Divine Beginning Realm. These geniuses had shocked people for a time, but in the end, very few of them were able to walk on the path to the peak. Therefore, Jian Wushuang's existence at that time was only remembered by many people. Most sects and powers did not really take him seriously. But now, the super genius who shocked everyone 100,000 years ago had displayed incredible strength. He had killed three masters of the Saint Realm in the battle that destroyed the three Saint Realms. At the same time, he had killed three masters of the Saint Realm experts who had been invited by the three Saint Realms. Such terrifying strength had truly shocked everyone. After all, masters of the Saint Realm, including rulers, were almost invincible in the Divine Beginning Realm. This had long been recognized by everyone. However, Jian Wushuang had killed three masters of the Saint Realm and rulers at the same time. What did this mean? It meant that Jian Wushuang's battle strength in the Divine Beginning Realm was far stronger than that of a master of the Saint Realm, or even an ordinary ruler. It was certain that his battle strength in the Divine Beginning Realm was much stronger than the leaders of the three Freedom Alliances, including the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, the Temporal Temple Master, and the Heaven Ancestor. Therefore, after the battle, Jian Wushuang's strength was recognized by countless cultivators as the #1 person in the Divine Beginning Realm. This matter was quickly spread to the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, the Temporal Temple, and the Heaven Ancestor Daoist sect. However, neither the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, the Temporal Temple Master, or the Heaven Ancestor came forward to refute, but chose to acquiesce. It was very normal. First of all, these three people had a very good relationship with Jian Wushuang, and they were all on the same side. Secondly, Jian Wushuang's battle strength was indeed much stronger than the three of them in the Divine Beginning Realm alone, because they would be greatly restricted in the Divine Beginning Realm, but Jian Wushuang was not. As for the universe battlefield, Jian Wushuang's battle strength was also at the Advanced Ruler Realm. Among them, perhaps only the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master could fight. In that case, it was well deserved to say that Jian Wushuang was the #1 person in the Divine Beginning Realm. The tacit agreement of the three rulers completely confirmed Jian Wushuang's title as the #1 person in the Divine Beginning Realm. Soon, the name of Heavenly Sword Marquis resounded throughout the entire Divine Beginning Realm. This time, his fame and status in the Divine Beginning Realm had completely surpassed those ancient rulers. The #1 expert in the Divine Beginning Realm, Heavenly Sword Marquis, was completely implemented. The vast universe was boundless. In a territory that was a certain distance away from the Divine Beginning Realm, although it was still at the edge of the universe, it was no longer a barren place in the universe. There were hundreds of astral worlds in this territory alone, and there were a total of 6 Grade 2 astral worlds. One had to know that there was not a single Grade 2 world star in the star domain where the Divine Beginning Realm was located. Among the 6 Grade 2 world stars, there was a world star that was surrounded by a large amount of black fog. It was like a devil cloud that was constantly rolling. This star world was the Devil Cloud Star. In front of the dark purple Grand Hall, there was a burly man who was over 3 meters tall. His hair was messy and his entire body was dirty. He was extremely slovenly. Behind him, there was a snow-white demonic wolf that was crawling on the ground. The man and the beast were leaning against each other. They looked relaxed and satisfied. "I wonder when this day will end," the burly man muttered. He flipped his hand and took out a wine flask. He raised his head and took a big gulp. However, he did not have the time to put down the wine flask. HMPH. A cold snort suddenly exploded in this world. This cold snort carried a trace of anger. Hearing this cold snort, the burly man jumped in fright. The wine flask in his hand almost fell out. He and the demon wolf immediately stood up. "Tell the Ice Mist King that I will give him another 30,000 years at most. If he does not meet my requirements within 30,000 years, I will immediately flatten his ice mist astral world." A cold and domineering voice sounded in this world. "Yes, sir." The burly man immediately bowed and accepted the order. After the voice gradually disappeared, the burly man and the demon wolf beside him finally let out a sigh of relief. What's going on? Didn't the Star Master give the Ice Mist King 100,000 years? Why did he only give him 30,000 years? According to what I know, the Ice Mist King has been following the Star Master's orders all these years. Did he not disobey the Star Master's orders? The burly man muttered. Who knows? In any case, since the Star Master has given his orders, the Ice Mist King can only obediently follow them. The demon wolf spoke in the human voice.
30,000 years.
To meet such a requirement, the Ice Mist King is in trouble this time. I wonder why the Star Master is so angry. The burly man smiled faintly. Chapter 3699. Challenge. I heard that not too long ago, the Star Master sent 3 hegemons to accomplish an extremely important task. Could it be that something unexpected happened in this matter? The muscular man asked. Who cares? It has nothing to do with us, Demon Wolf said. That's true. The muscular man laughed, then quickly left to deliver the order. Within the depths of the towering, deep violet hall, an endless, gloomy aura filled the entire hall. Within the black fog at the very center of the hall, a pair of cold eyes suddenly opened. Heavenly Sword Marquis. This is getting interesting. Just you wait. It won't be long before I personally come looking for you. Ha ha. A maniacal laughter rang out. This laughter lingered in the hall for a long time. In the Divine Beginning Realm, the old nest of the 3 great saint realms was now in ruins. However, these ruins could be rebuilt. Now, the experts of the 7-star mysterious sect were starting to rebuild. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction. Column align items. Center justify content. Center Z Index, 214-748-3647. Important as for the many sects and forces that had participated in this battle, they left one by one after they divided the spoils of war among themselves. The army of experts under the command of the 4 divine races had also returned to the demon realm, but Xianxia, who was now publicly recognized as the ruler of the 4 divine races, remained temporarily. The original reason was, of course, because of Xianxia. On the calm lake, a wooden boat was drifting with the wind. On the wooden boat, a man and a woman were leaning against each other, whispering to each other. From time to time, faint laughter could be heard. When Jian Wushuang came to the surrounding void and saw the scene below, his expression became strange. The 2 people on the wooden boat below were, of course, Xianxia and Xianxia. The 2 of them had always been in love with each other. In that battle, Xianxia had even turned against the 9-tailed clan for Xianxia. In the end, because of the destruction of the 7-star mysterious sect, the entire 7-star divine realm was sealed. Xianxia had remained in the sealed time, while Xianxia had started the 9 reincarnations to cultivate the 9-life succubus skill. Now, after countless years, the 2 of them finally met again. Although so many years had passed, the feelings between them had not changed at all. What surprised Jian Wushuang was Xiaxia's current appearance. In his impression, Xianxia was an extremely cold and arrogant person. He had started to interact with Xianxia in his previous life. Speaking of which, they had been friends for many years. The Xianxia he met had always had a cold face. No matter who he was facing, whether it was his own people or his enemies, his expression had never changed. But now, when Xianxia and Xianxia were together, there was no trace of coldness. The smile on his face was so natural. I didn't expect Xianxia to have such a side. Jian Wushuang smiled, then he rushed down and soon appeared in front of Xianxia and Xianxia. Jian Wushuang, you're here. Seeing Jian Wushuang coming, the smile on Xiaxia's face disappeared and turned into an ice mountain again. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Xianxia bowed respectfully. Although Jian Wushuang was once her ally, and his strength was not as good as hers for a long time, and even a long time ago, Jian Wushuang was just a little guy in front of her. But now, Jian Wushuang was already recognized as the #1 expert in the divine beginning realm. He could easily kill a ruler and a master of the saint realm. Xianxia could not help but feel a trace of respect for such a super expert. Xianxia, did I disturb you? Jian Wushuang asked playfully. No. Xianxia shook his head. Palace Master Xianxia and the others are already handling the matters in the 7-star mysterious sect. I don't think they need my help. Are you here for that matter? Xianxia had already guessed Jian Wushuang's intention. Jian Wushuang smiled, he said, as you know, in the divine beginning realm and even in the surrounding star field, you're probably the only one who can match me in sword principle comprehension. Your sword principle once made me look up to you. Now that I've finally caught up with you, I naturally want to have a face-to-face fight with you. Previously, in the eternal chaotic world, we were unable to fully display our sword principle strength. But now, in the divine beginning realm, we don't have any scruples. Xianxia, how long will it take for your strength to recover to its peak? Jian Wushuang asked him. He wanted to fight with Xianxia. Of course, Jian Wushuang only wanted to compete with him in teaching. As for his strength, he was much stronger than Xianxia. If it was a battle between 2 people, it would be unfair to Xianxia. However, he also knew that Xianxia had been in the eternal chaotic world for a long time. He had been sleeping for a long time and was completely in the weakest state. Although he had returned to the divine beginning realm now, it would definitely take time for him to recover to his peak. About 30 years, Xianxia said. 30 years? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. In that case, I'll come back to you in 30 years. I'll wait. Xianxia nodded. Goodbye. Jian Wushuang smiled and left. After Jian Wushuang left, Xianxia, are you really going to fight with Heavenly Sword Marquis? Xianxia immediately looked at him. Of course. We had an agreement when we were in the eternal chaotic world, and we can't avoid it, Xianxia said. But in terms of strength, this Heavenly Sword Marquis can easily kill even Saint Realm Masters and rulers? Xianxia frowned. In terms of strength, I am definitely far inferior to him. However, I am only competing with him in sword Dao and swordsmanship. In this aspect, I am confident that I will not lose to him, Xianxia said with a smile. In other words, you are confident in defeating him in that battle? Xiao was surprised. Not really. When he fought against those three hegemons, I could tell that his understanding of the Tao of the sword wasn't much lower than mine. In addition, he created a high-grade Tier 7 absolute art. Although it was only one type, that sword attack of his was extremely formidable. It can be said that there isn't much of a gap between him and me in terms of understanding of the Tao of the sword and in terms of sword arts. However, there is one point. The sword arts he created aren't as comprehensive as mine. Therefore, when the time comes for a real battle, my chances of winning should be 70, while his chances are 30, Xianxia said calmly. His words seemed a little arrogant. But in fact, those who were familiar with Xianxia knew that he was an extremely arrogant person, and he never exaggerated. Since he said that he had a 70 chance of winning, those who were familiar with him knew that his chance of winning was more than 70, or even 80, or even 90. Although Xianxia had existed many years ago and had not made any progress in sword principle because he had been sleeping, his understanding of sword principle had always been unparalleled. Now, although Jian Wushuang was qualified to compete with him in sword principle, it was still unknown whether he could really surpass him. Chapter 3700. Settling down the divine beginning realm was a vast and boundless territory. It was the edge of the endless territory, and beyond it was the core of the divine beginning realm, the third heaven. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had arrived with the people of the eternal chaotic world. This is it. Jian Wushuang looked down at the land with a calm gaze. This territory was still within the endless territory. The cultivation environment here was certainly not comparable to the third heaven, but the level of the cultivators here was far from comparable to the third heaven. In this place, a saint could become an ruler. A divine master was also a top existence in a holy world. Jian Wushuang naturally would not take a second look at such a place, but it was big enough for the people of the eternal chaotic world. Because of the restrictions of heaven and earth, the most powerful cultivators in the eternal chaotic world were only at the Emperor realm, which was only at the Chaos realm. The Chaos realm was an ant in the endless territories. .bg container 632764337b6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important they still had a long way to go. If Jian Wushuang placed them in the third heaven, they could do so because of his existence. However, for the cultivators in the eternal chaotic world, they lacked a lot of experience. What Jian Wushuang wanted now was for the cultivators in the eternal chaotic world to have a place to stay after they came out of the eternal chaotic world. Then, they could rely on their own abilities to slowly grow and step by step reach the peak. Therefore, it was undoubtedly the best choice to place the cultivators of the eternal chaotic world in the endless territories. Moreover, this place was at the edge of the endless territories, close to the third heaven. Even if the cultivators of the eternal chaotic world grew up in the future, it would be convenient for them to go to the third heaven. With Jian Wushuang's existence, the people of the eternal chaotic world soon occupied a holy world in this territory. This holy world was originally called the Holy World of All Heaven, but after it was occupied by the cultivators of the eternal chaotic world, and was renamed the Eternal Realm. Without a doubt, Jian Wushuang was the leader of the Eternal Saint World. Besides Jian Wushuang, the strongest White Emperor was equivalent to the deputy leader. When Jian Wushuang was not around, there were many matters in the Eternal Saint World. It's up to the White Emperor. The Eternal Saint World was just beginning to be created, and everything was in ruins. Fortunately, with Jian Wushuang, the #1 expert in the primordial chaos, many of the initial steps could be saved. As for the resources, Jian Wushuang had directly left 20 of the resources from the 3 saint realms in the Eternal Saint World. This amount of resources was too huge, not to mention the Eternal Saint World, which had just emerged from the Eternal Chaotic World. Even building a force that was comparable to the 8 Directions Celestial Sect or the 4 Divine Clans would be very easy. Jian Wushuang gave these resources to the White Emperor, but there were some restrictions. After all, although there were many resources, considering that there would be an endless stream of experts coming to the divine beginning realm in the eternal chaotic world, These resources could not be wasted too much. In addition, Jian Wushuang had left behind many tricks in the Eternal Saint world. For example, he had personally set up a magic array for the Eternal Saint world. Because he did not have much knowledge in the field of formation, he had only casually set up the formation. However, his current strength was at the advanced ruler realm. Even if he had just casually set up the formation, in the divine beginning realm, no one would be able to break it by force. In addition, Jian Wushuang had left behind many puppet fighters for the Eternal Saint world. These puppet fighters were obtained by Jian Wushuang from the experts he had killed over the years, especially the 3 masters of the Saint realm and the 3 rulers. There were dozens of them in their interspatial rings. He simply took out a few of them and placed them in the Eternal Saint world to ensure its safety. After leaving some tricks for the Eternal Saint world, Jian Wushuang left the Eternal Chaotic world in the Eternal Saint world and opened up several different passages in the Eternal Saint world. These passages could lead to several important places in the divine beginning realm. Of course, there were also spatial passages leading to the 3rd heaven. In short, Jian Wushuang had left all the necessary things for a large sect. As for how far the Eternal Saint world could go with the things he left behind, he did not know. He could only rely on the descendants of the Eternal Chaotic world to do well. As for him, although he could protect the Eternal Saint world for now, if the crisis of the divine beginning realm was completely resolved in the future, he would take over the divine beginning realm again. His original body would certainly go to the deeper part of the Eternal Chaotic world to explore. He would at most pay a little attention to the divine beginning realm, let alone the Eternal Saint world. After everything was done, Jian Wushuang gave a few instructions to the White Emperor and then returned to the Eternal Chaotic world. He had already sent most of his family and friends to the divine beginning realm. There was nothing left for him to miss in the Eternal Chaotic world. He came back with only one purpose, which was to hide in the ancient battlefield. It was the last opportunity left for him by his master. The Heaven Suppression Tablet. He had heard from the Xian god Daoist that when the Heaven Suppression Tablet was born, more than a dozen rulers had participated in the competition, which had even led to the death of the ruler. When his master had not obtained the Heaven Suppression Tablet, his strength was only at the initial ruler realm. However, after obtaining the Heaven Suppression Tablet and completely refining it, his battle strength was actually close to that of a superior ruler. One could imagine how incredible the Heaven Suppression Tablet was. After knowing this, Jian Wushuang was also quite eager for the Heaven Suppression Tablet. However, he also knew that a treasure like the Heaven Suppression Tablet was not something that could be easily refined in a short period of time. Therefore, after he came to the Eternal Chaotic world, he did not pay attention to the Heaven Suppression Tablet. Until now, he had already settled down in the Eternal Chaotic world, and the 3 Saint realms had been completely destroyed. At present, in the Divine Beginning realm, except for the Sorcerer God sect, which had yet to be destroyed, he did not know when the people from the Devil Cloud Star would come back, so he had nothing else to do. At this time, he returned to the Eternal Chaotic world and came to the Heaven Suppression Tablet. The grey stone tablet, which was nearly 30,000 feet tall, stood alone in front of Jian Wushuang. When he saw the Heaven Suppression Tablet again, Jian Wushuang's heart was still full of shock. He was even more shocked than when he first saw the Heaven Suppression Tablet under the guidance of Xianxia. When he first saw the Heaven Suppressing Tablet, he was still very weak. He had not even reached the peak of the Eternal Chaotic world. At that time, it was normal for him to not be able to see the truth of the Heaven Suppressing Tablet. However, now that he was standing at the top of the Divine Beginning realm, the Heaven Suppressing Tablet still gave him an extremely mysterious feeling that he could not see through. This was somewhat inconceivable.